Hello and welcome to Restless Gecko Reviews. I wanted to talk today about a bit of drama in the tactical shooter space. It's quite a controversial topic, and that is the introduction of Snap Tap from Razer and SOCD from Wooting. Before I get started, I just want to say if you like the content, please like and subscribe. It lets me know I'm doing a good job and makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So, the first elephant in the room is it cheating? And I think the answer is yes and no. Officially, it's accepted by the tournament organisers in CS as sort of being a legitimate way of playing, as Razer's done their due diligence and consulted with them, so they've essentially acquired the all clear there. So for anybody that doesn't know, this new implementation of SOCD and SnapTap, essentially, when you counter strafe, when you go AD, as soon as you tap the D key, it just nullifies anything from the A key. So it just basically stops you dead. There's no input lag or anything like that. You just stop on a dime and then you can shoot completely accurately in tactical shooters, mainly CS, but I'll get into that more later. So Valorant is a completely different kettle of fish, which, like I said, I'll go through that one later, but first of all, we'll start with CS. So CS is the bigger conundrum, as counter strafing is a very core element of the game, and when you master it, it sort of elevates you as a player, and it's very much a skill check for becoming a higher elo player. What SOCD and SnapTap does is, from my perspective anyway, from my thoughts, it essentially nukes a skill ceiling for people that aren't particularly practiced at it, or they're not good at it, they just mistime it every now and again, and it just elevates their game with very little investment in time from them. Obviously, you still need to time like your left click, but as long as you remember to shoot as soon as you press the counter strafe key, you're pretty much golden. Like, you're going to be accurate a lot of the time, a lot more than you were before at least. I think the impact it's going to have, or it has now even, it's on a sliding scale, and it will raise the game of pretty much all players that use it, regardless of their elo. So it essentially removes an element of the gameplay, or at least minimises it for you. Does it mean you'll go from FACEIT level 4 to 8 in less time? Probably not, but it takes one thing out of the equation when it comes to improving your game. So it's essentially a mechanic shortcut. So instead of having to focus on counter strafing, you can focus on util, focus on your game sense, focus on post plant, stuff like that. You're not having to panic about, oh, if I press the right key at a time, I've got to remember to press this, You don't have to like think about the timer or anything like that. You can literally just get it into your muscle memory and go from there. And it takes a lot less time to get that into your muscle memory than it would have done otherwise. I mean, even from my FACEIT games, so since I've been back on CS2, my counter strafing has gone from sort of like mid 70% to high 80% since I've been using it. So like, I can feel the difference. Like, it's not an illusion; it's completely there. I think so. If we look at this from like the pro level, I think it'll negate people mistiming things if they're nervous or under pressure or anything like that, and they'll hit shots that they wouldn't have otherwise, and then those results will sort of expand out. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, isn't it? So it's like you win a round you probably shouldn't have done if you didn't have the keyboard, and then that spirals and spirals and spirals. And obviously we'll never know, because if you've got it, then if you've got that keyboard and you hit that shot, we'll never know what it would have been otherwise. But in some ways it can be the difference between a post plant molly hitting or just missing the bomb in the final round. There's much less margin for error when we're talking about people like Donk, Munacy, any CS Pro player. It's all of them. The other issue as well is that some of the teams are sponsored by the likes of Logitech, and they have to use those peripherals that they've been given as part of their sponsorship deals and the money that they receive. And we can all assume that Logitech aren't going to be releasing a Hall effect keyboard anytime soon, never mind one with SnapTap or SOCD or an equivalent. So that's going to put a lot of players, like a significant part of the pro player base, at a fundamental disadvantage. And in many ways, what JL of Navi said is very true as well. Either everyone should use it or no one should use it in the pro scene, at the top echelon of the game. Does it mean that people that can't afford the keyboard should be allowed to use null binds? Well, you can definitely make a case for it in the interest of like competition and fairness. Like, everybody should be on a level playing field. A lot of people turn around and go, well, life's not fair. It's sort of very true. But at that point, Valve and CS developers may as well just code in more precise movement, but that again will destroy the skill ceiling, the feel of CS, and then CS2 just becomes a faster version of Valorant with no abilities. And yeah, so this feature, in my opinion, is very much like pay to win. There's no two ways about it. Should people that choose to use it be demonized? Definitely not. At the end of the day, Razer and the event organizers opened this whole can of worms. Wooting leveled the playing field for their customers by developing it within the 24 hours after its release and left everyone else in the dust, essentially. If you already have a Razer or a Wooting keyboard that it applies to, why wouldn't you choose to take on the advantage? Especially if you're being told by tournament officials and organisers that it's okay, and the peripheral companies are saying that it's perfectly fine as well, and they've done their due diligence, they've gone to speak to these people. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, the game dev themselves aren't taking a stance on it, so why wouldn't you? Especially when you consider that like 99% of people are going to adopt this, and you're going to be at a disadvantage if you don't adopt it. And whether someone says they're going to be principled, not use it or not, they'll use it, because no one's going to be able to tell what they're using. It's not like a big flag appears next to your name and it says is using SnapTap or is using SOCD. So some people might say they're not going to use it and end up using it, or so. Yeah, at the end of the day, like I don't blame anyone that uses it. But I think the most interesting thing is, where does this go? What happens next? Are Valve going to come out and make a statement, say nah? If they do, how are they going to be able to detect it at a hardware level when everything is essentially just like baked into the keyboard at this point? Especially with like the issues they have with cheating at the moment, I think it's probably lower on their priority list at the moment. Yeah, and if they do accept that everyone is just going to like, if they do accept it, does the whole player base just have to take it on the chin or pony up for a new keyboard? Is that where we're at now? I will say that in the spirit of competition and having a fair and equal playing field, these new updates most certainly fly in the face of it, because you are essentially removing a fundamental part of the game and making it like incredibly easy for pretty much anyone to pick up and play. And there's time that's been invested from everyone since they were like 11, 12 years old, even younger in some cases, where they've learned these techniques, learned the mechanics, and now all of a sudden someone comes along and goes, right, here's a keyboard that just does that for you. So the last 5 to 10 years that you spent doing it, it don't matter, mate. You've got a keyboard that does it now, pal. Just press that key at the right time and you're absolutely golden. You can hit 2p at 7 miles away. Yeah, it's a bit mad. So moving on to Valorant, it provides a completely minimal advantage in Val, as there's already like a negligible time between releasing a key and stopping. It's like ever so slight, so it does give you like a very, very, very tiny advantage, but not something you'd probably ever notice. And if you're mad about it, you probably should have been mad at Hall Effect keyboards in the first place, because they provide like tons more benefit than SOCD or SnapTap. And if you were mad at that, then at least you're consistent. My stance is that I am a very competitive person, and as long as it's allowed and sanctified, I'm going to use it. As soon as it becomes nerfed or banned, I'll stop. And in many ways, it's like using an overtuned weapon in a game, like the was it the Org? Org was like mental for a time, and everybody just spammed it. So you spam it and you take the wins you can get. Yeah, there's not really a lot you can do about it. And if they do ban it, or they do say not to use it, whatever, they're going to have to like contact Wooting and Razer to get it revoked from the keyboards. And even then, it's going to be like an optional update that people can do. They can't make it mandatory that people update their keyboards. So it's very much like the cat is out of the bag for this. And I don't know how you get it back in without forcing everyone to update somehow. Whether it's a new feature that you can only get if you update and remove SOCD, or you remove SnapTap but you get something even better in its replacement. I don't know how they're going to do it, because a lot of people are not going to give this up. And obviously, as it's saved to the keyboard profile anyway, yeah. And it's also like consumer rights as well. If you've got a product that does one thing, you're used to it doing that thing, and now if you buy it afterwards, so if you buy it with the promise of SOCD or SnapTap, and then they revoke it, they've sort of blurred the lines then between sort of the consumer and the company that they're purchasing from. It's like, can they really revoke features that you've paid for? I suppose in their terms and conditions of sale, it's probably included in there. But yeah, it'd be a lot of legal weaving, dodging and bobbing. So we'll see how this all plays out. But I do think it's very interesting. It's very controversial. So yeah, that's all for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know your take and I'll reply to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye bye.